dog.
You say hi, Guinness. You look at the camera. Hello.
That dog is too tan for Guinness.
He's yeah.
His nose is dark enough. He's got a stout nose.
He's the froth, maybe.
So we're recording this in late December, but we'll probably be releasing it in early January. We haven't hit Christmas yet, is the point. And I think I am right in thinking both of you celebrate Christmas.
I do.
Yes.
I celebrate it like it's supposed to be celebrated, which is to start on December 25th and continue all the way through the 12 days of Christmas.
Okay.
I don't do it like these uncultured oaves that start on like December 13th and count the 12 days to the 25th.
Yeah, that's backwards.
Or dopes. Nope.
Yeah, I definitely prefer celebrating the 12 days of Christmas afterwards, because then I can actually like rest. Because we've got the hard part out of the way, usually.
I was thinking about that today. I have, like, my schedule is stupidly packed between now and the day.
Yeah, my husband, so in order to try to keep the 24th as, like, sane as possible between visiting, like, all our family is in town. So to split time between parents, he has managed to schedule our Christmas Eve services for Tuesday night and Wednesday night of this week. So we have something every night. But,
there you go.
Yeah. And the church just went with it. We'll see if we hear anything afterwards. But right now, they're on board.
I think another reason to celebrate the 12 days after Christmas is because nothing says merriment like champagne, and you drink that on New Year's. So, like, why not lump the two fizzy, celebratory holidays together?
Absolutely.
I agree. And I will say this. I love New Year's Eve because I almost always do nothing. At least I did for years. And now in recent years, it's Jake French's birthday. So he has his like birthday shindig, and it's still a quiet affair, relatively speaking. Like there's a lot of game playing and noise, but then it usually ends like around his fire, smoking cigars. He's not having it this year, and I'm a little sad. Yeah. But it's a quiet, like reflective kind of. I like it.
It was nice. I went to my first one last year, and we left early, but we very much enjoyed it.
Did you French exit? Did you just vanish without saying anything?
No, I think we said bye.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure we said goodbye. We're pretty good about that most of the time. But we're old and not really that old, but we are internally old.
Old soul. Yeah.
As my sisters tell me, I was born old, as my younger sisters tell me. And I'm okay with that.
I think that's true. You're a big sister. I think there's an element of, I don't know, like
there's some aging
gravitas or maturity. I think those are the wrong words. But you do like have a little bit of old soulness when you have younger siblings, because you have to, or like they would perish.
Yes, yeah. Definitely. What is everyone drinking today?
Well, I should say that I pre-gamed.
Good.
I pre-gamed with eggnog, warm eggnog. Actually, it was warmed on the stove, and then brandy was added to that. So I have pre-gamed appropriately, and now I'm just being boring and drinking Coke Zero.
That's
you gotta hype back
Holly Jolly though. Eggnog and brandy, well done.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I do love the eggnog. I know it's a controversial drink, but I do love it.
It's
like
good. Just don't drink it room temperature.
It's like a beverage you can paint with. Do you know what I mean? It's like nice and goopy and.
Yeah, no, the texture is ungodly. The whole liquid is heavier than the emotional baggage of most characters on TV.
This is true, and I actually did. I did a whole holiday thing today. I had like candied pecans and cake and all kinds of. It was a delight. I never have those things, and I did today. I was just like splurge. I'm out of calories for today, so I will be eating the memories of paper for the rest of the evening. But
Great.
it was good while it lasted.
Yeah.
What about you, Jessie? What are you drinking?
I made me a little Swiss Miss hot chocolate. I bought it today at the store. Joel had a dentist appointment, and so rightly so, I dropped him off like any good wife and finished the Christmas shopping and bought hot chocolate. It was a good life decision.
There's something really beautiful and poetic about the fact that he was getting his teeth cleaned while you were drinking, sugar chocolate.
No, this is the better part is then after he got his teeth cleaned, we had an early lunch at Sherry's Bakery, which is known as the sweetest corner in town in Dunn, North Carolina. They're a donut shop. We did not actually eat donuts. We ate actual food, but we did think about donuts.
In Dunn, are they called donuts?
They should be. They're not, but
that's just a missed opportunity.
That would be fun.
Great,
they really should come up with one, but that would be a great idea.
There's a great coffee and wine place in Dunn.
Oh, is that the Cellar?
Yeah, it's really great. I went to a concert.
I thought they were going to be open today, and they were not. So I was surprised. But yeah, I've gone to a little back room show there before too. Yeah, they're nice and cozy. They're fun.
That's awesome.
Dunn's a cool place. It's where I got my acting career started.
Are you drinking, Claire? Are you day drinking?
Just water. No.
You didn't slip some vodka in there.
Still recovering from the other night, your bottle of champagne.
Well, the thing was, last time when we did Rover, I started drinking right after the show, and then kind of without planning to, Ron and I started just going back and forth because he shaved his beard that night because I wanted him clean shaven for Dormant, and so he sort of made it like a ritual post Rover, and he kept sending me photos, like updates of himself at like various stages of, he did all sorts of weird things with his facial hair as it slowly all came off. And then we just started talking about the show and about Man of Mode, which was coming up next, and we were talking until 3 a.m. my time, so 5 a.m. his time. And by 3 a.m., my bottle of Prosecco was gone. So I feel like I was a little bit more responsible this past Saturday with Man of Mode. And I think it's because Ron went to bed. Because he left immediately. I was like, okay, well, there goes my late night, 8-hour post show. And so I just drank 3 glasses like a good responsible director. And then I drank the rest yesterday.
There you go.
I will say this. I will be drinking later this evening. This is my hopefully last day of actual work. I don't know if it will actually. I have a list. I'm looking at it now. I'm like, oh, I could probably get through that tonight, and then I think I have a meeting tomorrow. I'm going to Raleigh to meet with David Henderson about our maybe production of Othello.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm done. I'm just going to do some Christmas shopping. Cool. I have not begun the Christmas shopping yet. So I will begin it and conclude it tomorrow. And then, I'll be kicking it. I've become a little bit of a bourbon collector lately, and I found a bottle that's sort of hard to find in North Carolina because we have state alcohol stores. It's a whole complex thing.
Sure.
But anyway, I found one that was good. I also witnessed a high speed exit from a it wasn't a robbery because there weren't weapons involved, but it was a theft at the alcohol store the other day. I was walking across the parking lot. I parked a little ways away, and I heard somebody shouting, "Sir, sir!" And I thought it was about me. And maybe I'm forgetful. I lose things all the time, so I was like, I thought it was my wallet or something. I turned around, and it turns out it wasn't me. It was another individual who had some product. I don't know what it was, and was hopping into their car, and a plainclothes ALE agent, alcohol law enforcement agent, was walking out yelling "sir" after him, and one of the store managers was out, and the car backed up in a hurry and then sped off around the corner so fast and so hard that there's a heat shield inside your car's wheels on the driver's side to protect the protect the tires and things from getting all the engine heat. And anyway, it turned so hard that the heat shield fell off, and they like dragged it underneath the car, and then it was a whole thing. It was
Wait,
very exciting.
I'm sorry. Back up. Are you saying that the enforcement agent? Are you saying that initialism is ALE, like ale, like they're the ales?
Yep.
I think that's right. I think they call them ALEs here.
Yeah, because we
That's
talked about them in
ridiculous.
college. It's fantastic. I love it.
We have lots of ALE stories because it's a whole law enforcement division here. It's like
Wow.
FBI. There was an establishment, we should call it, in Fayetteville that I was reading in the paper. I think I was in New York at the time, and I was reading like the internet, and they had like helicopters come in and like SWAT team descend from ropes onto the roof, and it was a whole thing. So I'm impressed. That's all I'm saying. Good job, ALE. Protecting us from the Hennessy thieves of the world.
They're gonna bring down the NC economy all by their little.
Oh, speaking of, the governor just did this amazing thing. Like moments ago,
I missed
he signed an executive order that says you can carry out or get delivered to-go cocktails.
Yes, life-changing.
The economy at a party time of year. This is great. I think I'm going to use it.
It's a smart move, considering
and if it
everyone's
sticks around, we could have cocktails for all of our, at least for the locals, for all our Zoom shows.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, they won't deliver to my house, but
maybe
that would be fun.
Wouldn't the cost of a delivered cocktail just be the cost of the cocktail? You're like paying 100% more.
Here's a $90 cocktail.
Just be a New York priced cocktail.
I'm interested to see because it's all being the bars and the clubs and restaurants are the ones doing it.
Right.
It's not like the state in that part. So I'm interested to see how that goes and who masters the market more quickly. Like you get the Starbucks coffee tanks, but it's full of margarita or whatever. I think that could be cool.
That sounds dangerous.
That sounds dangerous to my bank, dangerous to my internal organs.
I once when I was working for Hoosier Shakes one summer, we went and got it was a margarita tower. That's the best way I can describe it. It looks like a blender, kind of, except it's about, I don't know, 3.5 feet tall, probably. And it's got like a soccer ball little figurine on the top of it. And the whole thing was full of margaritas.
Okay, I want to go there. I want to, that's what I want. That's all I want for Christmas. Anyone listening? Someone get me
margarita tower for Claire.
I will actually drink the whole thing.
We did have a little too much. I will say that. It was a lot. It was like, it probably had 2 full bottles of tequila in it, is my suspicion.
Spectacular.
Probably.
So,
That'll be perfect for those mornings that end at 5 a.m. or nights out.
I love margaritas. Although I always get sort of bitch slapped around for how I drink them because I really don't mind if they're blended. Like I like blended and I like them over the rocks. And
I love a frozen margarita.
And I know that frozen margaritas are like they're like heresy. But I really like them. So
well, when you get ashamed.
We have a chain here locally, and actually, one of an actor who's been with us before, used to be married to the guy that runs it, Mi Casitas, and they have a whole what do you call it? A whole set of offerings, like frozen margaritas, mango, and everything, strawberry, of course, and all kinds of stuff. So it's pretty cool.
One of the best frozen margarita places in the state, I would argue, is Chico's in Greenville. Anyone from ECU will tell you Chico's is the bomb for a frozen margarita.
So it's so funny that you say that because the store Chico's, as I'm familiar with it, is like a clothing line for like
there is a clothing
women,
line too,
and it's basically all contemporary variations on what Nancy Reagan would wear if she was kicking. And so when you say that that's where you go to get like really good margaritas, I'm like, that seems like a conflict of interest.
I will say this:
two different
Fayetteville and North
demographics.
Carolina generally are great for Mexican informed foods for a state that is not like on the southern tier.
Yeah, it's really
I know
not.
we're in the south,
Yeah.
but we do have, because North Carolina is a greenhouse. We have enormous immigrant populations, including seasonal laborers, and they bring with them just delicious food. So
Nice.
it's great.
That's good to hear. That's exciting because I absolutely love Mexican food. Like good Mexican food, and I'm a little bit more snobby about it because I think it's a West Coast thing.
Hey, so the best place sort of in the Fayetteville sort of circle is a place called Tacos Oaxaca in Lillington, which is like 25 minutes north. But there are several like places in Raleigh, tequila bars and that sort of thing, and pretty fantastic.
I love La Cocina in Hope Mills. That's one of my favorite ones in the Fayetteville area.
So I think, Jessie, you were there when we did the Love's Labor's Lost reading, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember Sienna Brown, she played Maria? She was very tiny and adorable, and she had like the best hair ever. So she's one of my go-tos. She's spectacular. She played Juliet for me when I did R&J. And she was Foible in Way of the World, and she plays a lot of my young, teenagers in the Restoration. So those of us who did Way of the World, we reconvened a few months after we wrapped recording back in August to read Teresa Rebeck's modern adaptation. And just for fun, because it was August and because that play is set in the Hamptons in high summer, we all decided that we would dress up for it. Like we'd dress up in our bougiest summer clothing. And then we'd all have sort of cocktails that like worked with our character. And so Sienna was playing the character of the waitress. She actually doesn't get a name in the play. And she does a lot of monologues. And it's kind of her monologues eventually reveal that she's realizing that this sort of glitterati tier that she's idolized her whole life is just full of really cruel, unhappy people. And she has this really interesting kind of counterculture perspective in the play. But she starts the play absolutely in love with the Hamptons. So Sienna wore indoors these gigantic like bug eye sunglasses and like a really low cut like white shirt. And then she had I wish I was kidding, like a bowl of margarita. Like her margarita glass was like a bit bigger than her head and she needed both hands to hold it. And so I just have all these memories of her like leaning forward to like read the script on the computer, but she like is like cupping both hands under this globe-sized margarita. And the amazing thing was she got through 2 of them in the course of the play. Just to give you an idea.
That reminds me of we did our first lit production was a production of Hamlet, and one of our actors, Lofton, played Gertrude, and she was like our designated like person who was getting drunk during the show, and she had a tank like that full of wine, and she got quite toasted. And it was a delight.
Well, and also,
and hi, Lofton, if you're listening, congratulations. She and her beau, Chris, just had their first child.
Yay!
Well, and I mean, she must have gotten just completely hammered because lits aren't that long, right?
No, they're about 75 minutes of content. Sometimes we stretch it out just a little bit.
Okay.
But like that show also had like a really lively bar, and in Fayetteville it's like an inordinately large drinking culture because of the Bragg connection, and like people go at it, and we had people like leaning their heads or like against the wall or like wrapped up in the fetal position at the end of the night. Someone who'd never apparently encountered Hamlet before in their entire lives, at the end of the play, almost everyone is dead. And he very loudly shouted that very discovery to the room, something like, "Wait, they're all dead?" He was very concerned. So anyway, we have a lot of fun with those.
Great.
We have lots of war stories about lits. Not all of them are positive. We have a person who is not affectionately known as the Vagina Pirate, who has attended more than one lit, and we actually have made some rules about this person and their exclamations in the room, and we haven't, since we instituted the rule, we don't have as much of a problem, but we did.
There is something counterintuitive about it, but I fully believe that Shakespeare's tragedies are even better primed to be lit than his comedies. It's about finding the comedy, the like broad slapsticky farce comedy in getting drunk while doing a quote unquote serious play that ends really tragically. In our sort of lineup for the spring of 2021, in April we're doing Antony and Cleopatra lit, like a blitzed for ANC, and I feel like that's such the right play to do a drunk Shakespeare game with. Like, that play is so memeable, it's so ridiculous, the characters are larger than life, and there's lots of different kinds of characters, and the two leads are hedonists who love, like, debauchery and drinking. I feel like you're like set up for success with a Antony and Cleopatra lit.
I agree. Seen several productions, including I saw Patrick Stewart play Antony with Harriet Walter, and it was maybe the best production of anything I've ever seen. But I always think that when Antony, in the scene where Antony stabs himself, if it's not a joke, if people don't laugh at it, I think it's wrong. And anyway, so
I would agree, and I actually think part of what makes it so funny, the laugh is almost a catharsis, because I feel like what comes right before that for me is the one moment of that play I can latch onto, which is Eros refusing to do it and stabbing himself. Mm-hmm. That is like one of those few moments for me in that play. It's one of those few moments where I like really touches my heartstrings and I feel really connected to the story. So after the sort of the tragedy of that young pure soul stabbing himself so he doesn't stab his master, having his master just try it and just fail miserably is like, you have to laugh. You have to like let go of that emotion.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of heart in that play. I like that part.
Mm-hmm.
I like those parts, I should say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of heart.
When I saw the one at the National with Ralph Fiennes and Sophie Acanito, they had Eros have this really cute crush on Iris, who was played, Iris and Charmian were played kind of like, I guess we would call them like chief of staff and maybe like marketing consultant, because it was modernized, and Cleopatra was very clearly like a political leader. In addition to being a, fun-loving queen, she was very clearly like a politician. And so Charmian and Iris kind of became her like her people. My people will talk to your people. Like, that was kind of the vibe. And Iris and Eros kind of like, they had this very sweet like attempt at a love story that was just, hacked to pieces by the events of that play. And it was one of those kind of extra textual things that really resonated with me from that show. I think it's just because Eros is such a, I don't know, like, he's just such a worthy, sweet character. Your heart kind of breaks for him.
I love that. You and I disagree on this, but I do love it.
That's okay.
It's not the only thing we disagree on. But I think that's also okay. In case that isn't clear to anyone out there watching, listening, we disagree on a lot. That's fine. We're what Obama calls a team of rivals, or that was actually Doris Kearns Goodwin first describing the Lincoln administration.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
I don't
we're a team of
we're
rivals,
rivals.
and Jessie is here to be our mediator and sometimes babysitter.
Witness.
She's our pastor,
Our
if
character
you will.
witness.
Yeah. So we're supposed to be talking about upcoming stuff in January.
Thanks, Mom.
And I know we all were like,
Look at
split
you being
everything in
responsible.
January. I'm trying. I'm just watching the clock and I'm like, we've been at this for 30 minutes and we've not hit our topic yet. So we should probably do that.
January is named for the Roman god Janus, who has two faces, one that looks forward and one that looks back. So I feel like maybe roughly halfway through the episode, we've mostly been looking back, and now we can look forward like Janus.
That was so
Wow,
insightful.
that was like spin team worthy.
I mean, listen, I was inspired by the Roman content of Antony and Cleopatra.
There you go.
Forward, here we are talking about January. It's delightful. I will say, saying the word January right now sort of gives me a mild panic attack.
It's insane.
But we're gonna work through it.
Yeah.
With you.
I mean, on the national stage, January is going to be a very interesting month. Like setting aside sweet tea stages, but like on the national stage, we are in for some drama. I have no doubt.
Yeah, it could be. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a coup.
Well, they've already tried to have like 9 coups. They're just really bad at it.
I was like, if that's happening, that's not working very well.
I mean, I will say this. I think the core establishment in DC is too kind of collectively conservative to like let there be too much slippage. But the folks who've been stocking up ammunition for several months, those are the ones I'm a little bit more concerned about.
Yeah.
So.
The ones that are standing back and standing by.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see how it goes. You may be listening to this in the middle of the apocalypse, for all we know. I mean,
yeah.
We should talk about the things that are not apocalyptic that we're doing, which are several things.
Yeah, there's
things that we know a little more about.
There's a lot of cool stuff.
We are the theater company pushing against the apocalypse, inviting conversation and community, despite the challenges presented to us by pandemics and zealots and many others.
Mm-hmm. And there is really cool stuff happening in January. Let's start with our early modern Zoom series.
Okay. We're doing some early modern Zooms. In fact, we're doing two Zooms. We are doing on the 23rd, we're doing The Alchemist by Ben Jonson, and it's directed by my friend Bob Jones. Bob Jones is a graduate of the Mary Baldwin University program. Then he's gone on and is working on his doctorate at UT Austin. He's
cool.
worked with Wyandotte folks down there. He's done several things with Wyandotte, and he and I have we've worked together on a bunch of stuff over the years. He played Theseus in the Two Nobles. I did my MFA year, and then we did an As You Like It together at Blackfriars 3 or 4 years ago. So he's a good guy.
Awesome. And am I wrong? He has already appeared as an actor in a previous Zoom.
That's right.
I think he was in Claire Kimball's. Wasn't he in Claire Kimball's Spanish Tragedy?
That makes sense. They run in the same circles, those two. Yeah. So
actor becomes the director.
I will say Bob Jones not affiliated with the university in any way, and that's a good thing for those of you who know that university. He's not affiliated, so it's going to be good. Ben Jonson's a weird playwright. I think it's fair to say he's probably Shakespeare's chief rival. Certainly in the latter part of Shakespeare's career.
I would agree.
Certainly jealous of Shakespeare on paper a few times. Also, one of the relatively few Elizabethan playwrights known for murdering someone. So it's a little saucy there.
Mhm.
The Alchemist is a play that was written actually for Blackfriars, which is near and dear to my heart at Shakespeare's Indoor Theater. I'm excited to see what Bob does with it. He's a great guy, one of the smartest people I know. And
you should give a little background for those who don't know as to what The Alchemist is about, because it's incredibly timely.
yeah, so it happens during the plague. There's an outbreak of the plague, and the main character is sort of exiled to another country. I don't remember, or maybe it's no, to the country. And there's a character named Jeremy in it, and for those reasons,
okay, not
timely and topical.
Not remotely what I meant. It is set during the plague. Actually, there is a sort of theme, an inadvertent theme that is going to arise in January, which is the theme of cons and heists, because The Alchemist follows three outcasts, as Jeremy said, sort of London outcasts who are in the country, who shack up in an abandoned mansion where all of the aristocrats who used to live in it have died of the plague. And they set up a fake alchemy business where they offer remedies for the plague to unsuspecting, terrified citizens who will pay through the nose for cures. And so it's this kind of buddy heist comedy, but there's all this tragedy mixed in because it's the plague and people are dying. And Ben Jonson he's a very weird playwright. I am not personally a fan, but he does have this really interesting way of mixing humor and darkness, or perhaps finding the humor in the darkness and then the darkness in the humor. That's something he's very adept at, which is, I think, one of the reasons why he was revived considerably during the Restoration, because there was this sense of disillusionment that the Restorationists had after their own plague, the Great Fire of London, and the Puritan Interregnum. They were just so kind of cynical and jaded by everything that I think they really, Ben Jonson's plays really spoke to them. And so during January, while Bob Jones is directing this great heist play from the Jacobean era of theater, early 1600s, I'm going to be directing George Farquhar's The Bose Stratagem, which he wrote in 1707 towards the end of the Restoration, which is about two London libertines who are out of money, and they go into the country to try to con a bunch of people, and to try to snag wealthy wives, and they're trying to run a romance con, basically, and then it doesn't work because they fall in love with their quarries. But yeah, cons and stratagems and heists and con men. That's our theme.
Yeah. And if you're a Harry Potter fan, one of those characters is obsessed with obtaining the Philosopher's Stone. And if you're a real, true Harry Potter fan, you know that is the name of the first book. If you bought the book in the UK, not in America.
True. Yep.
I think of Jonson as sort of a proto-Restoration person. This was probably the most influential of the playwrights before that whole 1640s thing.
I would agree.
So, and the way he names characters is picked up in the Restoration.
Sure is.
Just like, I'm going to name this character Mr. Fat Face. Fat Face. It's very on the nose.
Yeah.
And he might even have a character named Francis on the Nose. I mean, it's not outside of the question.
Yeah, and the Restorationists absolutely picked up those naming conventions of almost ludicrously pointed names. They use that convention for hundreds of 50 years. So that's on January 23rd, and then on January 30th,
we're doing The Revenger's Tragedy.
What?
Revenger's Tragedy is by Thomas Middleton, we think now. Didn't always think that. But Thomas Middleton is another of Shakespeare's contemporaries. Mm-hmm. He's actually one of the good ones. And in fact, he probably co-wrote several Shakespeare plays, including, or his work was heavily folded in, shall we say, including the Scottish play and what's it? Measure for Measure. Measure for Measure. So they work together quite a bit. He and the Bill, and this one's directed by Kim Carroll. Hi, Kim, if you're out there. Hello. He's a great guy. We've been meeting each other every 2 years at the Blackfriars Conference for many years. He's a director. He's an actor. He's done his work at University of Exeter and is now a director based in and actor and college professor based in the Boston area. And so he's doing Revenger's Tragedy, which is it's like it's a proto Hamlet, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
So in the end of the 1580s, there was a real vogue for revenge tragedies, and actually this was like the prototype of the revenge tragedies. And it's basically a bad thing happens to someone. It's usually very bad, and then that person, the protagonist, as it were, does a lot of stuff. And then all of their enemies, and usually several other people, die at the end. And so, if you reach the end of January and the apocalypse has happened, this would be very fitting. If you need to like expunge, vicariously the drama of January politically or whatever, you just come see our show and.
Yes, if you need to vicariously expunge, come watch our Zoom productions.
Vicariously expunge. It's going to be on our t-shirts from now on.
Yikes.
Vicarious expungement.
Actually, we were just watching an episode of The Crown last night. We're doing season 4 of The Crown, my parents and I, because Princess Diana is very, very important to me. And Emma Corrin, if you're listening, you're not. You're doing absolutely luminous, beautiful, exquisite work as her. You're indistinguishable. But one of the episodes we watched last night was about Elizabeth's press secretary, who was a novelist on the side. And the episode actually opens with him sitting and writing just at his typewriter, his kind of opus book. And he's using the most ridiculous words. Like, he's got a thesaurus open and he's just finding the most absurd way to describe every single piece of the scenery. And by the time he finally writes the end, you have no idea what's happened in the scene. It's like incomprehensible because of the words he's used. And it was a very clever, fun way to sort of open the episode, because later in the episode, they're trying to change the wording of a bill so that Margaret Thatcher will sign it, and he's the one they go to because he has this kind of like thesaurifric brain, and so he'll think of all the different words that they could use that might sort of get past her. It was a very clever conceit. It was a clever way to set up the episode, but vicariously expunge to me is exactly like something that he would have written in his book. It's like you can say those words over and over again, and someone listening would be like, I don't know what that means, but take my money, I'll come watch your show.
It sounds good.
Actually, Jeremy, so I know we think Middleton wrote Revengers, but Revengers is older, right?
It is the old, well, it is.
It's the 80s, right? 1580s?
It's the 80s. It's the late 1580s. Yeah. I think all of these, I went to graduate school a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure Revengers happened and then Spanish Tragedy happened, and then something like Titus Andronicus happened after that. So but that vogue is one of the things Shakespeare latched onto at the beginning of his career, and then they were memorable enough that they stuck around for the ideas of Hamlet.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really, I'm a crap early modernist. I just didn't realize that Middleton was writing that early. I guess I thought of Middleton as like a later writer.
I think, so I'm not a Middletonian, but what I think, I may be wrong here, but that there was probably an edition of the play that was written by Oh, he's not commonly known. Turnier, Turnier, depending on. His name starts with it's like Cyrus or Cyril or something like that. And that he may have written it, and that Middleton got his hands on it later,
Sure.
before it was published or something like that. But also, I will say this, and I love these people, but like, it is often the case that if the play is pretty decent and we don't know who to ascribe it to, Middleton's like first in line. So he just all I'm saying is he got around. That's what I would say.
They all did. Those scalawags.
Literarily speaking, and probably actually,
Probably.
some of them did get around, sometimes with each other.
Yep. Sure did. Well, so we have Johnson and possibly Middleton with Alchemist and Revenger's Tragedy on the one side of Zoom. Those are our Zoom performances for January. But if you are in the mood for something lighter and sweeter and maybe just cheerier about like the fate of humanity, if you like weird complicated love triangles and true love wins the day, then on Saturday, January 16th, the Digital Restoration Series, or DRS, which I'm spearheading, we are doing our third full cast table read. And this time we are going to be reading William Congreve's amazing 1695 smash hit Love for Love, which is a truly wonderful play. Yes, all the sparkle fingers. And the story of Love for Love is wonderful in and of itself, but the story of how the play got written is arguably even better. Congreve was a 25-year-old law school dropout who had written a couple of plays but was mostly unknown and kind of not taken seriously, while writers like Sir John Dryden were still kicking around. And the two companies that Charles II had licensed had actually formed one company called the United Company by this point, but there was a new manager who really stamped on the actors' rights, treated them poorly, tried to direct their shows even though he didn't understand the theater, was horrible to the younger female actors in the company, made them feel unsafe, really knocked heads with Betterton, the best actor of the day. And so Betterton led a group of actors, some of the best in the company, on a strike that actually led to them seceding and creating a company to rival the monopoly. And they knew that they were going to need a really excellent play in order to recoup the money that they had all lost and then invested in starting their own venture. And they hired William Congreve because he was just so good at writing, even though he was kind of unknown, because they knew that he wouldn't be picked up by the main company because he was too small potatoes for them. And he wrote Love for Love, and at the time it was considered like one of the most successful plays since the Restoration. It ran for 14 consecutive nights. It made their rival company succeed in a huge way, kind of put them on the map, put him on the map, and it kind of stuck it. It kind of stuck it to the management that had forced them out. So it was a really cool, it's kind of a really cool moment when this play is written, but mostly it's wonderful because it's a very young writer who knows he has a big responsibility, just pulling out all the stops to live up to the expectations, right? He's just doing this play is chock full of amazing vehicles for these actors to kind of really let loose and just show their chops. So to sort of honor the fact that we're doing another Congreve, we are reuniting the entire cast from the audio drama of Way of the World. So we're all going to be coming back together, and we are all going to be reading the analog character, because Congreve wrote Love for Love for the same company that he would write Way of the World for. So we're all reading the other character that our sort of Restoration actor would have taken. We're doing that on the 16th, and we're inviting audience members to come and watch the reading, because it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have scholars there. There's going to be a post-show discussion. So if you're interested in seeing a little bit of Restoration comedy in a sort of low-key, casual way with a bunch of fun actors, that's happening in the middle of the month.
Delightful. Escaping during a possible apocalypse. Good idea.
Yeah.
So, Love for Love is a way to do that.
Definitely.
I just want to say,
yeah. Totally.
It's a way to
And
say it's self-care.
It's self-care.
And am I remembering correctly? They have to be a season ticket holder or a Patreon in order to get that. Okay, so if you're not already got your season tickets, and if you're not already a Patreon subscriber, do that.
Yeah,
do it. You can do it for like $1 a month.
Yeah,
super affordable.
But of course, $100,000 even better. You know,
you can get a Christmas card from me if you do that.
But here's what you should do. You should take the stimulus money that Congress just authorized, and you should just sign that little check over to Sweet Tea Shakespeare, and we will perform Love for You. Say one time for each $10.
And by the time we get to performance 60, we will all be memorized, and we won't even have to do the work of learning our lines. We'll just...
There you go.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, so that's going to be a fun. It's a deeply romantic play. It's a really blisteringly funny play, and it's so clever, and the characters are marvels because they always were in Congreve's hands, and it's one of the really cool examples we have from the Restoration of playwrights who were just totally in love with their actors, who knew their actors, knew them really well, knew their strengths, and wrote towards those strengths, which is something that we know Shakespeare did as well.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And we should say that by the time that this is heard, this episode out there in the universe, not the stream. Hello, people listening on the stream. Hi. But for the people listening on the podcast, we will have all of these that are more live performances, but we'll have recordings, restreams, if you will, of all of our Zoom productions to date. And so going back into the fall, that includes The Devil's Charter, The Spanish Tragedy, The Rover, and The Man of Mode, which we did just this weekend.
Yeah.
For us, not for you, but for us, yes.
And they're really good shows.
A little page. It's going to be like Sweet Tea Shakespeare / DRS or digital restoration or something. Mm-hmm. And we're going to have a little landing page so you can like get a little library of the restoration shows. And then there'll be another page that you can get a little library of all the early modern shows. And then as we move forward, it's, like I need something in my ears. And you're tired of listening to Joe Rogan's podcast. You just put in one of our shows and it's even better. Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
Yep, we're currently in post-production for The Rover, and it's an immensely fun and complicated one to put together, not only because there are a truly staggering number of sword fights in which Wesley has to like get knives and forks and like bang them together in front of his microphone, but also because this play, like Rover, is it's all spectacle. It's set in the streets during carnival time. There's like a group of girls and a group of guys, and they're just gregarious on both sides of the aisle. And so in addition to just aligning all of the lines themselves, there are all of these character reactions, right? Like laughs and grunts and groans and scoffs and chortles, and them, grabbing each other and laughing at each other and sometimes injuring each other. All of this sort of extra textual noise that we are sort of threading through as well, that's going to make it feel like you are like literally pounding the streets of Italy with the characters.
That's awesome.
It's going to be really fun.
I like the 3D audio.
Yeah.
3D for your ears. Surround sound.
Jesse, I never asked, did you listen to Way of the World?
I did.
Yay!
Oh, no. Yes, I did. Yeah. It was really good.
Thank
I
you.
don't remember what happened, but I really enjoyed it. I had so much fun. It kept me company on the way to work, and then during work, I think while I was doing payroll or something ridiculous. It was very fun.
Awesome. Thank you for listening.
I listened to it at the gym. And it some of the characters, this is supposed to happen, by the way, but like the characters that are a little like, that are supposed to like put people on edge. You know what I mean? They're like,
oh yeah.
And a little,
Oh my goodness, it's so perfect though.
I had visions of punching them, and I think that's the way it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Absolutely.
Who was it? Amanda's character? Oh my goodness. I was dying every time she like came in my ears, and I was like, I'm sorry, my dog is protesting, but
It's like listening to a Muppet, but
Yeah,
you know, yeah.
totally. No, I mean,
oh,
between Amanda's Lady Wishford, which was this like weird quasi British accent, and then she did this like she kind of had this inflection where it would take her an extra syllable at the end of every line, like nephew, like she would just add these glottal sounds at the end of every word, and between that and then Simon Kaplan's deeply bumbling British Sir Wilful Whitwood, like it's just a lot of vocal color in your ears.
it was fantastic.
Oh, thank you for watching it. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes, very much enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, it's on our website. Enjoy.
Yeah, and it's on all the places where you find podcasts. Sweet Tea Shakespeare Hours. So that's
all right. We did it. Speaking of hours,
yeah,
we did it.
We did it.
We did an hour. This is the first long one in a while.
Yeah. Now it's time to go continue our holiday drinking.
Sounds good to me. It's getting close to the time when it's appropriate to drink on the West Coast.
You're almost there.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, Claire.
As I have learned. Yeah.
Because you are on an East Coast clock, why they say anything goes.
Awesome. I need that on a t-shirt.
Anything goes?
It's 5 o'clock where my job is.
There you go. I think that's fair.
So a week from today, we'll have been through Christmas and we'll be able to sort of reflect on the holiday, and we'll be in the midst of the 12 days of Christmas. So maybe we can talk a little bit about Twelfth Night.
Ooh.
It's one of my favorite plays.
Such a good play.
Good idea.
But until then, happy holidays to both of you, and happy holidays to anyone listening. Or we hope you've had a happy holiday. And next one will be our last cocktail hour of 2020.
Ta-ta.
Wildness. Yeah. Bye, friends.
Bye.
Bye.